Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. And have I got a really interesting story time for you? True story. And let's get into it. But just before we do, I'm looking out at my yard. I have a really pretty yard, and it is a really nice day today. The weather is shaping up to be pretty good. I know it's going to be hot, like maybe in about an hour, because I think it's about 11:30 or so here. But out there, it is just gorgeous right now. My yard looks kind of like a little forest, and it's just lovely. It's really nice for meditating, early in the morning. There's a lemon tree out there, and there are squirrels. And believe it or not, uh, yesterday morning, uh, there was a squirrel that was actually sitting there staring at me through my bedroom window, waiting for me. I actually have it on video, and I might post it. It was so cute. I believe the squirrel was waiting for me because I love squirrels too. Of course, I love all animals. But Pooba loved to chase squirrels. So I have started feeding the squirrels. And I've made a little feeder out of these bamboo plates that I have. So I put slivered, unsalted, unseasoned almonds, raw nuts for them because I didn't have any. Is it acorns that squirrels eat or chestnuts? I'm not sure. I will find out. I'll make it a point. But yeah, so yesterday morning the squirrel was waiting for me, and I thought that was so precious. That was unforgettable. So I feed them more every day. I try not to put out too much at one time because I don't know if it's okay for them to eat a lot. And I've noticed that whatever I put out, they'll eat it all at one time. So I'm being careful. And on with my very interesting story time. So this takes place in on or about 2016 when I was fighting a court case that I had been arrested for previously, and it had been going back and forth in court. And I was going to post this as the time I stalked a court judge, but I decided no because I've never stalked anyone, but it would have sounded like clickbait. So, anyways, I did go to his house, and here we go with the story. So I was fighting this case, and the case was going very badly for me. The court was doing some highly illegal things, and I did not have a good defense attorney. So just because you have a private attorney doesn't mean that you have good representation, and I've learned that the hard way. What happened briefly is that I had a private attorney, and then I fired him, and now he no longer practices law. I had reported him to the bar, and so did several other people. And so now he does accident cases, which is very telling. So I fired him, and I just asked the court to go ahead and assign me a judge. But when I fired him, what he did is that he went and told the public defender's office something adverse about me. I'm gathering it wasn't anything true, but the public defender's office immediately called conflict, preempting me, which is fine. The public defenders are most of the times not fighting for you anyways. So they will get you to, maybe plead out, or however they approach it, they will get you convicted. and I didn't want a public defender anyways. So I was appointed a state attorney. State attorneys in California are private counsel that sign up for being appointed to people who are fighting cases, defendants, and that's how I got a state appointed attorney, and not very good either. And I did actively participate in my defense. I didn't just leave it to the attorney. However, when I initially posted bail, my bail was $50,000, which relatively was not a high amount, being that I did have a record. So, in relative terms, it was okay. It would have been better if I didn't have to bail out, if I would have been released on my own recognizance. This was a case where I was charged with stealing credit cards and using them to purchase petty things. So what happened is that I posted bail, but before I had posted bail, I had been in the city jail and I didn't have access to make direct phone calls. So I was very limited, and in the LA County, well, in the LA city jails, they post a laminated poster outside of the cell window where you can look at and read most of the available bail bondsmen and their phone numbers. Some of them take collect calls. Believe it or not, some of them actually don't. So I had to collect call for a couple days frantically. But before that evening, I had contacted a bail bondsman, and everything was recorded, monitored and recorded on the city jail phone, where I told him my entire arrest record, and I also told him what I'd been arrested for. Other than that, they also have access to look up your case and your history while you're speaking to them. So he looked it up. He was aware of it. I didn't know that he was aware of it at the time. So I explained to him everything about I've been arrested before. I have a record, what I had been arrested for at that time that I was trying to post bail for. And he said, okay, well, I'll take only 5%. I'll help you out. You qualify for me to go ahead and bail you out, and you can pay me when I get you out. And I said, okay, fine. So it's 5%, right? And I repeated it back to him to make sure. And he said, yeah, it's 5%. He told me his name, that he's the owner of the bail company, which later on I found out is a very shady, bad business bail company. And the guy, the owner, had been sued before and all of these other things, but I didn't know it at the time. And I felt pretty frantic and desperate. Lesson learned, never make decisions when you're feeling desperate. So he sent somebody to come interview me. So this is like, there were a lot of checks and balances on his part. So he knew exactly what was going on with me. And then he sent someone, a bail agent, to come to the city jail and interview me and double, triple, and quadruple check everything about me. So he interviewed me, and I passed the interview. And I think several hours later, they got me bailed out. I was released, and the agent that the owner sent came and got me and drove me straight across the street. This was Van Nuys City Jail. He drove me straight across the street to the little shady, dingy bail office. Okay, so we're working out the payment. I'm about to sign the papers, and then the owner calls the agent, and the agent talks to him and then says, oh, this is the owner, he wants to talk to you. So the owner gets on the phone with me, entirely different tone of voice, very angry and very demanding. Okay, so check it out. You're going to pay, 25%. I said, wait, you said 5%. And I know the going rate is 10% at the most, but you did say 5%. So I'm not understanding why now it's 25%. I don't have that. You said several times it was going to be 5%. You want to go back to jail? And I said, of course not. He said, you're going to pay 25% right now on the spot. I said, I can pay you, but you said 5%. Even if you wanted 10% right now, I would pay you, even though it's not right. It's a violation of your verbal contract on a phone system that was monitored and is recorded. So he got even angry, and I wasn't being rude. I wasn't yelling back at him like he was yelling at me, and he was being like really menacing. I mean, just horrible. And what happened, in short, in summary, is that he had that agent literally put handcuffs on me, and I wasn't even fighting him or anything, and take me back to jail and have me rearrested, rebooked for the entire process, and stuck in there. I hadn't signed any papers. I hadn't even had a chance to pay because he wanted 25%. He was scamming me. So it took me a couple days, and I posted bail with a legitimate bail company. And the first time I went to court with the private defense attorney, it was all good. The judicial officer there did not try to raise my bail. No issues were brought up. No concerns. There was nothing, negatively impacting me. And I left, and then I was given another court date. I believe it was approximately the second court date when I went to court, and I should have known something was going on. So mind you that I had never met the first shady bail bondsman. I had only spoken with him on the phone when he was yelling at me and scamming me for 25% in violation of his verbal contract. So I didn't know what he looked like. And as far as I was concerned, as far as everybody was concerned, and most importantly, legally, I had done everything legally. I was showing up to my court case on time, but that morning the attorney was not there on time, and no matter how many times I called him, he wouldn't answer. So I stood there, and then I sat down, and then I stood up again in the hallway, and I waited. I had checked in with the bailiff, and I told him, I don't know where my attorney is. He said, well, we'll just wait, And so 11:30, they closed down the court for the lunch hour till about 1:30. And then maybe around, I think it was around 1. I'm approximating the times here. The defense attorney shows up, and unknown to me, unrealized, is the entire time that I was there, there was another guy also in the hallway sitting on the bench across from me. And that was the shady scamming bail bonds owner. So the defense attorney shows up. He doesn't explain himself. And we walk into court, and that guy walks in behind us. And at the time, I still didn't realize what was going on. It was later that I found out that the defense attorney had also been in on this. So because I had told him everything, my situation when I went to hire and pay him, and including what had happened with that first shady scamming bail bondsman. So he knew the entire situation. What he had done behind my back is that he had contacted that bail bondsman, and they had arranged to go in and falsely and illegally have my bail rescinded so that I would have to post bail again, and then the defense attorney could refer me to another bail bondsman, and he would get a cut of that. Even though that's illegal, it's what he was doing with a lot of defendants. And I've spoken with a lot of them who I never knew before. And then when we spoke to each other, because they had posted complaints about him online, and I had looked him up online afterwards to see what this guy was really about, and that's how we spoke to each other and compared notes. So we went into the courtroom, and the judge calls the case, and we go up, and this was Judge David Walgren. Very corrupt, because he knew better. So he says, first of all, we need to take care of something. I understand that her bail bondsman is here to have her bail revoked. I was like, that can't be true. And I look at the defense attorney, he doesn't even look at me. I'm like, what's going on here? And I'm looking around, and I look behind me, and I see that guy standing there, and he says, yes, I'm here. I need to have her bail revoked. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know him, and he's not my bail bondsman. I posted bail with such and such company, and I have the paperwork, the documents, the receipts, and the folder in my vehicle, which is actually parked right in front of the court, because that morning I'd been there so early for my case that I had found a parking spot right in front of the court, at the metered parking. And this was San Fernando Court in the city of San Fernando on 3rd Street. And I was like, if you will allow me just to go to my car and get, no, you're not going anywhere. And that was Judge Walgren. Said, yes, but that's not my bail bondsman, and this is all false here. I don't know exactly what's going on, but it's not right. You know, it's not legal what's going on, and I had to speak up for myself. I wasn't yelling. You know, I was trying to explain something, and I asked, well, would you allow me to give my keys to my attorney so he can go to my car and get the documents and the receipts for you? No. Now I'm going to speak. So he addresses the bail bondsman, and they proceed to revoke my bail and to approximately more than triple it. I now have a new bail set, and I was rearrested and taken into custody, and the bailiff is coming up and forcibly taking me, and I wasn't struggling with him, but I was actually trying not to go. I'm like, wait a minute. And I keep asking the defense attorney, what's going on here? You know, what is going on? He wouldn't talk, and he wouldn't look at me. I'm like, will you please take my purse and go in my car? My keys are in there. I mean, and I'm like, and while the bailiff is trying to pull me away to take me into the dungeon, okay, I'm like, hold on, wait a minute, sir, and I'm addressing the judge. Would you please just call the bail company that I posted bail with, and they will immediately either walk in the documents or fax them to you. And he wouldn't listen to me. He wasn't having it because he didn't want to have the truth. He knew what was going on. What he had done was wrong and illegal. And my defense attorney wouldn't take my purse. All he had to say was, well, just drop it here and leave it. I'm not touching it. Like, wait. And they took me to custody. Long story short, he comes down to the dungeon, to the visiting area for inmates, to see me with a different bail agent. He says, listen, I want to help you out. I know a bail agent, and he introduces the guy to me. And I'm in the holding cell visiting area with another woman who's like fainted out drunk, okay, moaning every couple minutes or so, you know, on the floor, and I'm on the metal bench cuffed to the counter while he's telling me, listen, I want to so-called help you out. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I have to post bail again. Yeah, what can I do? And so there's his cut, there's his benefit. And that got me to really thinking. When I was released again on about triple or more times the bail that I had originally posted, and I got home devastated, I phoned that attorney and he didn't answer. I left a message the next day, he didn't answer. I left 3 more messages and he wouldn't answer me. And I think at some point I texted him, like, could you please answer me? And he texted back, I don't answer you on your demand. I never demanded anything. He was getting really defensive. So it got to the point where I called and I left a voicemail, you're fired. You're dismissed off this case and I want my money back. And when I hired him, it was a flat fee. It was not an hourly. So his text response was, in essence, yeah, I'll prorate everything, the hours that I worked, which he didn't do any work, and then I will refund you the rest. First of all, that's not how it goes. He should have just refunded my money. It wasn't hourly in the contract that I had with him. The written contract and the paperwork said it was a flat fee up and until in the case of trial. Everything else short of that. So he had not worked except to work against me, and I figured it all out. And yeah, at some point, the bail bondsman that he referred me to did say that, yeah, he gets a cut. It was something he told me verbally. So I actually filed a case on him and got my money back because they investigated it. And then I started doing an internet search where some other of his clients, some defendants, had posted things about him, and so we got together, compared notes. I did file an official bar complaint on him, and he has received a warning, and after that he went and divulged personal info about me, and I filed another complaint on him too as well. And I have told the other clients who were victimized by him to file official complaints as well. So the case was going very, very bad for me, and it just snowballed from there. At that point, I had a different private attorney actually, and I paid him another flat fee, and he didn't do anything good for me either. His father was a retired attorney, but he would cover for him sometimes. So one of the court dates when we went to court, he came back and told me, look, there's this plea deal for you. I said, listen, I don't deserve to go do time for what I did. What I did was wrong, okay? And I take responsibility for it. But I should either get community service or something like that. And he cut me off, Well, you know what? Then that's on you, how you gaslighting me. Okay, well, you know what? You want to take this in the wrong direction. I said, just because I don't want to plead to do time, in custody for this. I mean, I've already done time by being taken in and out of custody over bail disputes, which were not my fault. I've done everything right in this case. I've never missed a court date. In fact, I've always been early to my court dates. I've been conscientious. I've done everything as I should be doing legally. And I'm not getting any help here. So I was finally convinced to take the plea deal, which amounted to about 8 months in custody, and it would be in the county jail instead of the state prison for the AB 109 laws that they had enacted due to overcrowding and whatever else. So I finally, on a different day, took the plea deal, which I regret. And I was sentenced on that day, but because they know that I'm dependable and I've done everything right, the judge, which was a different judge at that point, gave me time to surrender myself. So I left that day, and it stretched out to, like, I believe 2 or 3 months. I was given time again after that because I had things to take care of, and the most important was my baby, my love, my pet Pooba. So, here's the thing though, the court did something else illegal. That attorney that I had fired for also scamming me went behind my back and spoke with one of the assistant DAs and told her, because he knew everything that was going on in my case, even with the new attorney, went and told her, don't give her this deal, it's too good, which I considered actually bad, but he was still retaliating against me, this undue retaliation. So what happened is that on the court date, when I was going back to ask for a little more time to surrender myself because of my dog, the most important aspect ever, the dearest for me, this assistant district attorney went into court having a temper tantrum, which was so unprofessional, saying, no, she shouldn't get this deal. I had already been sentenced. You cannot take back a sentence, unless the circumstances are so egregious, and it has to be for the defendant. It cannot be for the benefit of the court. What happened is that, as I remember, the judge set a new court date, but said that he was going to take the sentence back. And that defense attorney wasn't doing anything either. He was on a flat rate, which was a good deal of money, but still, it wasn't in his interest to fight for me anymore. He already had the money too. So what happened is that on the date that I was to surrender myself, and I was dreading that, I still went into court. I still showed up early. I was still there, and the judge said, no, we're going to take back the sentence, in essence, cancel the sentence and rearrest her. I was like, can you at least, reinstate my bail? This is not my fault. I've done nothing wrong. I don't deserve this. Could you please reinstate? No, he wasn't going to reinstate my bail. He set a $140,000 brand new bail on me. Yeah, this is how it really happened. And I was dragged into custody again, and I was in there, as I remember, for approximately maybe 2.5 months before I could work out something with yet another bail company. And no bail company is nice, okay? But until I could post bail again, and at that time they only did it on the conditions of putting me on an ankle monitor. For what, I don't know, because I've always had a good record as far as showing up to my court cases. I've never even so much as been late, as I've mentioned. But I agreed to it. I had to. This is the terrible things that these corrupt judges and defense attorneys and shady scamming bail bondsmen had caused me, which is all basically one entity. It's coming from one source. So I was on an ankle monitor, and yet out all of my money because of that. And so at that point, I believe, I remembered a judge that I had on a previous case, Judge Eldon Fox in Beverly Hills Court, who, even though I was convicted under that judge, I looked at him as a good judge. He had helped me out before, by sending me to rehab or giving me a chance at least. And at that point, I still believed in the goodness of people, that somehow, some way, if I reach out and ask for help and explain to people why I need help, that if they can, they will help you. I no longer believe in that, because I learned the hard way. So I knew that Judge Fox had been retired. He was no longer a judge, no longer on the bench, had nothing to do with that anymore. And that was the only reason I thought in my mind that it was 100% all right to contact him, because I felt desperate. I didn't know who else to go to for help. I thought if I contact him somehow and explain my situation, he will remember me and he will see that, okay, I am a good person. Maybe he can help me. How did I feel he could help me? I don't know. Maybe he could give me a piece of advice that would turn this around. Something. I looked him up on the internet and his home address was posted at that time on the internet. He was in Holmby Hills. So what I did is, me being the good person that I am, first I went and I bought a gift, because at that time I believed that you should never go to anybody's home without a gift in your hand, especially when you're going to their home for the first time. No, he was not a friend of mine. No, he was not a family acquaintance. No, I had never associated with him on a personal level. He was a judge who had convicted me, but who I believed was a good person at the time. And for that reason, I thought that I would go to him and ask for help, because I didn't know what else to do. So I got a gift. I went to the address, and when I parked, it was a very unassuming home, kind of dark, dim, on an incline, upcline. So I walked up to the door and I felt very self-conscious, but I rang the doorbell, and they had a thing on their door where you could actually, not just a peephole, but a small opening where you can open it and see who's there, in real time, live, and decide if you want to answer the door. Well, his wife, who was also a former and retired prosecutor, Janet, checked. I never met her. She didn't know me. She saw me standing there. She opened the door. And I said, hi. I felt very self-conscious. I introduced myself to her. I told her my first and last name. I said, I really, really sincerely apologize for bothering you and showing up at your home without calling. I didn't have your number, but I was wondering if it's possible to see, and I still called him Judge Fox, Judge Fox. And she was not like, scared or anything. I was just like, well, may I ask, who you are? And I told her my name again. And I was so self-conscious that I couldn't tell her, hey, it's me. I'm a former defendant in your husband's court, and all these things. I don't want to just, come right out with it right away and scare the woman, because who wouldn't be scared in her place? And I understood that. So this was her response. Well, are you an attorney? I said, no. She said, well, are you a student? Are you a law student? Have you been taking courses in college? And I said, no. She said, but you're some type of student, right? And I said, no, I'm not. She said, oh, okay. A law clerk? I was like, no, I'm not. If you'll allow me, I'll explain who I am. Hold on, wait a minute. You work for one of the judges? No, I'm not. And I slowly told her who I was. And I kept apologizing for being there, for bothering her. I kept saying, I can imagine how this would, probably shock you, scare you, concern you. And she was like, okay, come in. I was like, are you sure it's okay for me to come in? She said, he's not home, but just come in. She invited and, of course, allowed me into her home, and I still stood in the foyer. And she said, well, let's go into the kitchen. And I asked her, are you sure it's okay? You know, yeah, just come into the kitchen. We sat at the table. She sat at the table across from me, and I explained to her what was going on with my history, my prior arrest, my current arrest,